short break, we will continue with task 5, and we go through the Bloodstein and Bernstein Ratner, and we have arrived to question 16. The Monterey program, designed by Ryan and described in 1974, 1979 and 2001, employs 2 alternative schedules for establishing fluency. The GILCO, gradual increase in the length and complexity of utterances, and DAF, the delayed auditory feedback. The GILCO is based on operant principles. The people who stutter is instructed to begin reading fluently word by word. Each fluent word is reinforced by the word good or a token. Stuttered words is remarked by the clinician with the words "Stop, say it fluently." If necessary, the client may be modeled how to say the word fluently in a slow, prolonged manner. After being able to read 10 fluent words, the client proceeds to read 2 words at a time to a criterion of 10 consecutive fluent pairs of words, then 3, 4, 5, and 6 words at the time in the same way, followed by 2, 3, and 4 sentences at a time. The client is instructed to read continuously and is reinforced after every 30 seconds of fluent reading. Then, at longer intervals, the same steps are repeated as the people who stutter engages in monologues and later in conversation. The ultimate goal is 0.5 stuttered words or fewer per minute for 5 minutes. The client is then conducted through a program to transfer fluency to other situations and settings through activities at home, at work, with strangers, on the phone. During maintenance phase, the client returns to clinic for re-evaluation and refinement of performance to satisfy the criterions. The DAF program is an alternative designed for clients with relatively severe stuttering. With help of delayed auditory feedback, the client is trained to read and speak in a slow monotone in which all sounds are prolonged and articulation is slurred or de-emphasized. Webster designed an intensive 3-week program in which fluency is achieved by training the people who stutter to use gentle onsets of phonation. Here I will make some comments to the description of Bloodstein and Bernstein and Ratner. From the very beginning, only gentle onsets was taught through a computerized voice monitoring instrument. Over the years, until late 1980s, the program was further developed with more elaborated speech targets for every category of speech sounds. This, as a gentle onset, was found not to be sufficient to increase of fluency in itself. In the treatment manual by Webster and Montgomery, the following speech targets are taught. First, stretched syllables, rate 2 seconds per syllable. 2. Full breath target, voice training, 2 seconds per syllable. 3. Gentle onset on vowels, rate 2 seconds per syllable. 4. Reduced air pressures on fricatives, rate 2 seconds per syllables. 5. Reduced air pressure on plosives, rate 2 seconds per syllable. 6. Reduced air pressures on consonant clusters, rate 2 seconds per syllable. And 7. Smooth transitions on voiced consonants, not plosives, rate 2 seconds per syllable. The volume control target means the controlled coordination and timing of movements of the respiratory muscles, phonatory muscles, and the articulatory muscles of the vocal tract. The target behavior is overlearning of the coordination of timing, full breath, and full articulatory movement. This technique is practiced in 1 second and 1/2 second rate. For normal slow speech, the principle of static controlled volume and timing are abandoned in favor of normal prosodic pattern with the more natural stress and of the specific language. The motor control is monitored by the awareness of 2 of the already learned targets kept in mind. And here is a reference to Wästlund, a phonetic schedule for adaptation of precision fluency shaping program into Scandinavian languages, proceedings from the Third World Congress of Fluency Disorders. A very important factor is that the speech targets are taught with a self-evaluation of their standards. This is meant to support the biofeedback system through helping the clients to increase the control of their speech. For further reading, Wästlund, a phonetic schedule. Accordingly to the Toronto model by Kroll and Daniel, the way I have been taught is that treatment is always accompanied with problem-solving strategies, a kind of cognitive behavior therapy for the clients. Especially during the maintenance phase, the support has to be individualized to meet the special needs for each client. This due to the awareness that each client may need different cues and support to continue to take control over their speech and to develop a healthy way to think about speech stuttering, being able to maintain their gain of fluency. The goal in treatment is monitoring of speech targets as an habit, routine, and positive self-awareness to increase of easygoing communication with others. This is a format for integrated approach, blended hybrid for treatment of stuttering. The comprehensive stuttering program, the awareness that stuttering is both behavior and problem. And here's a quotation by Bob Kroll. For further reading in Swedish, there is a final report from our project, datorbaserad talträning för personer som stammar. And see also the description of hybrid or blended therapies. The comprehensive stuttering therapy is ECSF, Netherlands, the Montgomery program in Bloodstein and Bernstein Ratner, page 363 to 364. And now to the Stutter-Free Speech by James and Florence. James and Florence in 1980 combined techniques borrowed from operant conditioning, counseling, and psychotherapy in an innovative attempt to solve some of the problems encountered by behavior therapies for stuttering. The format for the program, which they called Stutter-Free Speech, is a client-centered, non-directive interview session that is used in part to encourage the stutterer to explore and clarify feelings of anxiety, inadequacy, indecision, and resistance with regard to speech and therapy. The people who stutter is trained with support of delayed auditory feedback to speak fluently at a slow rate with continuous phonation and airflow. When the people who stutter can produce slow, fluent utterances without delayed auditory feedback, they are taught to self-reinforce their response by allowing themselves frequent brief intervals of spontaneous, unmonitored speech. With support of written contracts, fluency is transferred to daily life. The contracts specify the time, places, and situations in which speech will be monitored. The numbers of contracts is gradually increased until speech is being monitored through the day. This is labeled as a hybrid program or integrated approach. And now to the self-modeling. This is a recent approach to stuttering treatment, the self-modeling paradigm, which has been documented as effective interventions for a wide number of complex and difficult to treat psychological conditions and behavior problems, and is a reference to Dowrick 1999. The client is repeatedly exposed to his or her error-free target behavior, usually documented with help of edited video samples or speech showing desired performance. Hybrid, integrated or blended therapy programs are those that combine various features of the intervention approaches mentioned above. A number of such programs have reported good gains in both fluency and cognitive affective measures. The theoretical background of Blumel and Wendell Johnson emphasized alteration of the child's environment through parent counseling. Accordingly to Blumel, primary stuttering would disappear of its own if the child was not helped for it, and the diagnosogenic theory of Johnson held that by ignoring the child's stuttering was the best remedy. To some extent, the parent counseling orientation also reflects the point of view that stuttering is an emotional disorder of childhood.